Welcome to Untold Revenge Files. This story takes place in San Francisco, and I promise you, by the end of it, you'll understand why some silences are louder than any scream. My name is Natalie. By 23, I had perfected the art of swallowing pain with a smile. Growing up adopted in a family that valued appearances over honesty will teach you that skill early. You learn to laugh at jokes that cut. You learn to nod when people remind you that you should be grateful. You learn to shrink. That night in San Francisco changed everything. The restaurant overlooked the bay. Crystal chandeliers scattered light across white tablecloths. Waiters moved like shadows between tables filled with people celebrating ordinary things, anniversaries, promotions, birthdays. Our table was celebrating family. At least, that's what I thought. I slid into my seat wearing a simple red dress. I'd bought it on sale after working 3 consecutive night shifts, telling myself it was elegant enough to blend in, but not flashy enough to draw attention. I knew my sister Charlotte would be the star tonight. She always was. Charlotte had this energy that pulled people toward her. Loud, confident, beautiful in a way that made strangers lean closer, and authority figures forgive her everything. I'd spent my entire life orbiting her light, and honestly, I'd made peace with it. Or so I believed. The table was packed, not just immediate family. Charlotte had invited friends, co-workers, extended relatives, an audience. Looking back, I should have recognized the staging. When she stood and clinked her glass, my stomach tightened instinctively. "Cheers to our real family," she announced, voice cutting through the restaurant noise. People at neighboring tables glanced over, drawn by her confidence. Then her eyes found me, glittering with something I'd seen 1,000 times before. Except the girl in the red dress. She's just adopted. The laughter erupted around me like something exploding. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. Heat flooded my face. But I forced myself to chew, forced my expression to stay neutral, forced myself to act like this was nothing, because it wasn't new. I'd heard variations of this joke since I was 7 years old. But something felt different this time. Maybe it was the size of the audience. Maybe it was the way my parents chuckled along without flinching. Or maybe it was simply that a wire inside me, stretched thin over 16 years, finally snapped. I stared at my plate while their amusement echoed off the walls, bouncing between chandeliers and champagne flutes. Have you ever sat in a room full of people laughing at your pain and wondered if you were the only sane person there? I told myself to breathe. Keep your head down. Get through the night like you always do. Then the manager appeared. He was holding a leather folder, professional smile intact, though his eyes flickered with curiosity as he surveyed our chaotic table. "I hope everyone enjoyed their evening," he said politely. "I just need to confirm who will be settling the bill tonight. The total comes to $5,000. $5,000. The number dropped like a stone into still water. Silence rippled outward. Charlotte's smile faltered. Heads swiveled, from me to her, to my parents to each other. I don't know exactly what broke inside me in that moment. Maybe it was years of being the punchline. Maybe it was watching my mother's face shift, like she was waiting for me to smooth everything over to make everyone comfortable again. Instead, I straightened my back. I looked at the manager, and I let a small, deliberate smile cross my lips. "She will," I said, gesturing toward Charlotte with my thumb. "Let her and her real family handle it. After all, I'm just adopted, right?" I paused, letting the words settle. This is only the beginning. The room froze. Somewhere behind us, a server dropped a spoon. The clatter seemed impossibly loud in the sudden quiet. Charlotte's face drained of color as the weight of my words and the $5,000 check landed directly in her lap. She'd wanted a joke. I'd just given her a punchline she couldn't control. "You're kidding," she said, voice sharp with forced laughter. "Natalie, stop. Don't be weird." "I'm not being weird. You just toasted the real family and made it clear I'm not part of it." My voice stayed calm, calmer than I felt. "So why would someone who isn't real family pay for a real family celebration?" My mother jumped in immediately, tight smile locked in place. "There's no problem here," she told the manager. "We're just joking around. We'll handle the bill." The manager didn't move. His expression remained professional, but something shifted behind his eyes. "With respect, ma'am," he said evenly, "I want to make sure everyone at this table is comfortable with the arrangement." That was all he said. No lecture, no moral commentary. Just a simple, pointed pause that made my family's discomfort painfully visible. Charlotte bristled. "We're fine, it's just how we joke." She shot me a look. "Right, Nat?" The nickname felt like a chain, a leash. I remembered being 8 years old, holding my school photo while she joked about putting it in a "Before We Got Our Real Kid" album. Everyone had laughed. My parents told me not to be so sensitive. Tonight was just a bigger stage. "If this is your idea of joking," I said quietly, "then we really do have different definitions of family." The manager placed the check directly in front of Charlotte. "I'll give you a few minutes," he said, then walked away. My mother leaned toward Charlotte, whispering urgently, "Just pay it. We'll reimburse you later." That word, reimburse, was the mask slipping. Of course they'd fix it quietly afterward, make sure their golden child suffered as little as possible. Keep everything looking perfect from the outside. "No," I said. "You laughed at me in public. You can deal with the fallout in public too." Before I continue and tell you what happened after that bill landed on the table and how this one dinner pushed our family to the breaking point, I want to know, where are you watching from right now? Drop your city in the comments. I'm curious to see how far this story will travel. The rest of the dinner felt like standing on a fault line. Dessert arrived and went untouched. Coffee cooled in cups no one raised. The only thing moving freely was tension, sliding from person to person like something alive. Charlotte kept flipping the bill folder open and closed, as if the numbers might change if she clicked it enough times. Her friends exchanged uncomfortable glances. One of them, a woman I'd met maybe twice, leaned over and murmured, "Char, that toast was kind of harsh." I watched the realization flicker across my sister's face. For the first time, people weren't automatically on her side. My father finally spoke, his voice low and controlled. "Charlotte, what you said wasn't okay. It may have been a joke to you, but it wasn't to your sister." She stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "So you're on her side now? After everything I've done for this family, suddenly I'm the villain because she can't take a joke?" "You made yourself the villain," I said quietly, "the moment you raised that glass." When the bill was finally settled, split between my parents and Charlotte, my meal on a separate check I insisted on paying myself, the drive home became its own battlefield. City lights smeared across the car windows. I sat in the back seat, watching the reflections of my parents' faces in the rearview mirror. Charlotte sat rigid beside me, radiating fury. No one spoke for the first 10 minutes. Then Charlotte's composure cracked. "I can't believe you let her do that to me," she burst out, leaning between the front seats. "My friends are going to talk about this forever. You've completely destroyed my reputation." My father kept his eyes on the road. "You destroyed yourself when you made that toast." "It was a joke, Dad. Everyone knows that." "The manager didn't seem to think so," my mother said softly, surprising everyone. "Neither did your friends, based on how quiet they got." Charlotte whipped around to face me. "This is your fault. You always have to make everything about your adoption, don't you? Always playing the victim." I looked at her steadily. "I didn't bring it up tonight." "You did. In front of 60 strangers." "Because it's funny." "It's not." My voice didn't waver. "It never was." Have you ever realized that the thing you've been calling harmless for years has been slowly carving pieces out of someone you claim to love? We crossed the bridge in silence after that. The city glowed below us, reflected in dark water, and I felt something shifting inside my chest. Not anger, exactly. Something quieter. Resolution. When we finally pulled into the driveway, Charlotte stormed inside without waiting. My parents moved slower, weighted down by everything unsaid. I stayed in the car an extra moment. The next day, I met Oliver at our usual coffee shop. He'd been my closest friend since freshman year of college, the one person who never made me feel like my adoption was the most interesting thing about me. "So," he said, sliding a latte across the table, "you survived." "Barely." I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. But something broke last night, Ollie. Not just with Charlotte, with all of them. He listened as I recounted everything: the toast, the manager's subtle intervention, the silent car ride. When I finished, he sat back and let out a low whistle. I knew they were weird about your adoption, he said slowly. But that wasn't just weird, that was systematic. Like they got used to you being the butt of the joke, and nobody ever stopped to ask if you were okay with it. Because I never said anything. You said something last night. I did. The words felt strange in my mouth, powerful and terrifying at once. And now I don't know what comes next. Oliver pulled out his phone, started typing notes. Okay, strategy time. Step 1, emotional boundaries. Step 2, financial independence. Step 3, figure out what kind of relationship you actually want with these people once you're not trapped under their roof. I stared at him. You're treating this like a business plan. Because it has to be structured, he said seriously. If you go into this raw, you'll either explode or fold. Neither helps you. He looked up. How much do you have saved? Could you realistically afford a small apartment? I did the math in my head. Night shifts, overtime, the money I'd been quietly tucking away for years without really knowing why. Yes, I said slowly. Barely, but yes. Then start planning as if you're leaving. Even if you don't move for months, just knowing you can will change everything. It changes how you walk through that house. It changes what you're willing to accept. He was right. The moment I acknowledged that an exit existed, the cage lost some of its power. That evening, I texted Charlotte. Meet me at the park tomorrow, 6 o'clock, no audience, just us. Her reply came 20 minutes later. Fine. The conversation that followed would either be the first step toward something new or the final confirmation of something broken beyond repair. If you're still with me, drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever had to confront someone who hurt you repeatedly while pretending it was all just a joke? I want to hear your story. The park was nearly empty when I arrived. Late afternoon light filtered through the trees, casting long shadows across the grass. Somewhere in the distance, children played on a swing set, their laughter carrying on the breeze like something from another world. Charlotte showed up exactly at 6. Sunglasses, arms crossed, attitude firmly in place. Say what you need to say, she snapped before I could even speak. I have plans. So do I replied calmly. And they don't include letting you use my adoption as a punchline anymore. She rolled her eyes behind her designer frames. God, you're still on this? It was one joke, Natalie, one toast. You blew it completely out of proportion. Did I? I sat down on a nearby bench, forcing her to either join me or stand there awkwardly. She chose to stand. Let's go backward then. 3 months ago, Aunt Linda's barbecue. You told everyone. We literally saved you, Nat. The least you could do is bring the drinks. Everyone laughed. Do you remember what you said when I went inside? Her jaw tightened. No. You followed me and said, don't make this a big deal. Like my feelings were an inconvenience. I kept my voice steady. High school, junior year. You told your friends that when I misbehaved, Mom threatened to return me. They thought it was hilarious. I pretended I did too. We were kids. You were 17, old enough to know better. I met her eyes through the dark lenses. And that same night, I heard you tell Mom I was being moody. You suggested it might be a biological thing from my real parents. Like my DNA was the problem. Charlotte's mouth opened, then closed. For once, she didn't have a quick comeback. This isn't about one toast, I continued. It's about 16 years of being reminded that I'm different, that I should be grateful, that my place at the table is conditional. I stood up, closing the distance between us. I'm done. Done with what? Done being the punchline. Done being the charity case. Done waiting for you to realize I'm not a prop in your story. She pulled off her sunglasses then, and I saw something I hadn't expected. Not anger. Fear. What do you want from me? She asked quietly. The bare minimum. No more real family comments. No more jokes about me being returned or rescued. And when you mess up, because you will, own it. Don't tell me I'm being too sensitive. And if I can't, then I can't stay. The words hung between us. She blinked. Stay where? You mean You'd actually leave? I've been looking at apartments. I let that sink in. I haven't signed anything yet, but I will. This isn't a threat. It's information. Charlotte stared at me like I'd transformed into someone she didn't recognize. Maybe I had. I don't know how to stop, she admitted after a long pause. The jokes. It's just how it's always been. Then learn. Start now. I stepped back. We have a family meeting Saturday. Dad's idea. Come prepared to actually listen or don't come at all. I walked away before she could respond. The days between our park conversation and Saturday blurred together, but they carried a different energy. I started packing small things, old notebooks, framed photos I actually liked, tokens that reminded me of who I was outside of the adopted one. Each object that went into a box felt like reclaiming a fragment of my story. Charlotte's behavior shifted from open hostility to icy silence. On Thursday afternoon, I walked into the kitchen and heard her talking to my mother. She thinks she's too good for us now, Charlotte was saying. Just wait. She'll come crawling back when real life hits. I opened the refrigerator, took out a bottle of water, twisted off the cap. Real life already hit, I said calmly. It hit every time you called me a guest in my own family. Charlotte spun around. Seriously? You were eavesdropping? I was walking to the kitchen, in my own house. I took a sip of water. If you're tired of hearing about my adoption, imagine how tired I am of living with the reminders. My mother stepped between us, hands raised. Girls, please. Your father wants us all to sit down Saturday and talk calmly. Can we just get through the next 2 days without another fight? I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something I'd missed before. Exhaustion, but also guilt, sitting right beneath the surface. Fine, I said, but I'm not going to that meeting just to be told I'm too sensitive. If we're doing this, we're doing it honestly. All of it. My mother nodded slowly. Honestly, I promise. Saturday morning, I texted Oliver. Family meeting today, might get ugly. His reply came immediately. Ugly is where truth shows up. Remember your plan, boundaries, independence, decision. You've got this. I looked at the boxes lining my bedroom wall. Half my life already packed, ready to move whenever I decided to. The question wasn't whether I could leave anymore. It was whether they'd give me a reason to stay. Drop a comment if you're still here. What do you think is going to happen at this family meeting? Wrong answers only. Saturday arrived under a gray, heavy sky. I woke before my alarm, nerves buzzing beneath my skin. For a long moment, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the half-packed boxes lining the wall. Today could change everything, or it could confirm that nothing would ever change. Either way, I wasn't leaving that living room as the same person who walked in. My parents had arranged the space like neutral territory. Coffee table cleared, television off. The usual background noise replaced by an uneasy quiet. Charlotte was already on the couch when I came downstairs, arms crossed, leg bouncing impatiently. My father stood by the window. My mother arranged mugs of tea like peace offerings nobody had asked for. I took a seat across from Charlotte. I didn't shrink into a corner. Thank you all for being here, my father began, sounding more like a mediator than a parent. Things have been tense since the dinner. We need to address it. Charlotte scoffed. Tense? My friends still think we're insane. That's more than tense. They probably think that, my father replied quietly, because they watched you toast to real family while excluding your sister. That's what they'll remember. Charlotte blinked, caught off guard by his directness. My mother cleared her throat. We're not here to point fingers. We're here to listen. Natalie, she turned to me. You've been the one most hurt. Would you like to start? The question landed like both a weight and a release. I took a breath. This isn't about one dinner, I began. It's about a pattern. For years, I've been treated like the extra. The one you saved, the one who should be grateful, the one whose place at this table always felt conditional. I looked at Charlotte. You made jokes about my adoption, about being returned, about not being real. And the response was always the same. Laughter, then, don't be so sensitive, Natalie. That combination taught me something, whether you meant it or not. It taught me that my pain was acceptable collateral for your comfort. My mother's eyes glistened. My father's jaw tightened. Charlotte said nothing. At that restaurant, I continued, you didn't just joke. You raised a glass and told a room full of strangers that I wasn't part of the real family. And when everyone laughed, I realized I had a choice. Keep swallowing this forever or finally stand up. I paused. I chose to stand up, even though my voice shook, even though I knew it would cost me. Have you ever felt your entire life narrowing to one decision? Stay quiet and stay small, or speak and risk breaking everything? My father sat down slowly. You're right, he said, voice rough. We let it go on too long. I let it go on too long. When we adopted you, I thought loving you would be enough. I didn't realize how much work it would take to protect you from casual cruelty, even inside our own home. He glanced at Charlotte. I failed at that. Charlotte's composure cracked. So I'm just the monster now? That's the story? I'm the villain, she's the saint, and you two are the clueless bystanders? Nobody's calling you a monster, I said. I'm not asking you to make me the saint. I'm asking you to stop making me the punchline. You don't understand. Charlotte's voice wobbled. Actually, wobbled. Do you have any idea what it was like when they brought you home? Everyone made such a big deal about it. You're such good people for adopting. What a generous thing to do. They praised Mom and Dad constantly. And you were the symbol of their goodness. I felt like I had to be perfect just to compete. Her eyes shone with tears she was fighting to hold back. So, yeah, I made jokes. I leaned into it. I told myself if I made it a running gag, then I was in control, that I could keep you in this little box where you were grateful and I was irreplaceable. For a moment, I didn't see the polished, cruel sister who owned every room. I saw a scared girl who'd clawed for attention the only way she knew how. You could have just talked to me, I said softly. I was right here the whole time. I didn't know how. A tear escaped, streaking her makeup. And by the time I could have tried, the jokes were who I was. I didn't know how to be your sister without them. The room went silent. Here's the thing, I said finally. You're not the only one who built an identity around this. I spent years being the adopted one, the grateful one, the quiet one, the one who never rocked the boat. I thought if I just proved myself enough, eventually I'd stop feeling like a guest. I sat straighter. I'm done with that. I'm not asking for more love than you got. I'm asking for equal respect. If you can't give me that, then I can't stay in this house pretending everything's fine. My mother's head snapped up. What do you mean, can't stay? I met her gaze. I've been looking at apartments. I haven't signed anything yet, but I will soon. The words hung in the air like a line drawn in the sand. So you're just leaving? My mother whispered. After everything? I'm not leaving to punish you, I said. I'm leaving to protect myself. I can't heal while living under the same roof where my worth is up for debate. My father closed his eyes briefly, then nodded. When he spoke, his voice was thick. If that's what you need, we won't stop you. But I want you to know, we're going to work on this, as a family, whether you're in this house or not. Charlotte wiped her face roughly. I don't want you to go, she admitted barely above a whisper. I know I haven't shown it, but I don't. It wasn't an apology, it wasn't enough, but it was real. Then show me, I said simply. Not today, over time. Prove that things can be different. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the gray sky that was just beginning to crack, letting through the first weak rays of sunlight. This wasn't a neat ending. There was no dramatic reconciliation, no tearful group hug. Real healing doesn't work that way. But something had shifted. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for permission to matter. I wasn't shrinking to make someone else comfortable. I had drawn a line, and I was prepared to hold it. Over the following weeks, I did sign that lease. I moved into a small studio apartment with a view of a brick wall and neighbors who played music too loud. It was cramped, imperfect, and entirely mine. Charlotte and I started over, slowly, awkwardly. She slipped up sometimes, old habits run deep, but she caught herself, apologized, kept trying. My parents called more often, visited, asked questions about my life that they'd never asked before. And me? I finally stopped being the punchline in my own story. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and comment below. What would you have done at that dinner table? I read every single response. Thank you for watching. I will see you in next one.